Alright, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to teach you some words that we are going to be reading in our new book today. Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch.
Is it going to be a long book?
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Do you know holidays coming up that we just celebrated on
Valentine's
Friday?
Day.
Valentine's Day. So this book is going to be all about love because it talks about somebody loving this man called Mr. Hatch.
Yeah.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to review some vocabulary that you're probably going to see in the book. All right, what's our first word? You got it.
Mend.
Mend. So to mend
Sewing.
something is to prepare, like you sew. Like if you rip a hole in your shirt, you can ask your mom or your
Sewing.
dad to mend it. If you don't know it, you can sound it out.
Supervisor.
Super what?
Supervisor.
Supervisor.
Yeah.
So a supervisor is a person who looks after someone or something.
Yeah.
A supervisor could be another word for boss. So who do you think the boss is here at Herbert? Who runs over everything? Mr. Kerrigan. He's our principal. So he's the boss who runs over all the teachers and who runs over all the students. So he's our supervisor. Next we're going to go over, do you remember when we went over our point of view? So our point of view is who is telling the story. First person point of view is that the story is being told by one of the characters. You're looking for keywords like I, we, me, ours, or us. So I'm going to tell you a story and you're going to tell me if it's in first person or what point of view it is. So I, after school, went to the grocery store to get fruits and vegetables to have with me and my friend for dinner.
Cool.
So who was telling the story? Who was telling that story that I just got? The author. So who's the author in this case?
Tells the story.
So if I went to the grocery store to get fruits, so what keyword am I using?
The.
So I went to the grocery store. What keyword am I using? I. So if I was a keyword, then who would you think would be telling the story? If I was telling my own story, what?
Miss Graham.
Miss Graham. I would be telling the story. And am I one of the characters in that story?
No.
I would be because I'm the one who's going to be making dinner for me and my friend.
Oh yeah.
I'm the one that's going to be involved in the story. Okay, and third person is when the narrator tells a story. Do you know what a narrator is?
Narrator. The narrator is the guy who tells the story.
It's a guy who tells the story. Is he part of the story?
No.
No, he just tells the story. Can I use you an example?
Yeah.
All right, Holden, after school, went home to his mom and dad, and his dad got him to do a bunch of chores. So once he was really good, he went to get Pokemon. So who was telling the story in this case?
Me. Dad. My dad.
Your dad?
Miss Graham.
Not exactly. I was telling the story.
Yeah.
So if I was telling the story, but I wasn't part of it, who would I be?
Narrator.
The narrator. I'm not part of the story.
Narrator, yes.
And I'm telling your story.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, so I would be talking in third person. Remember when we were talking about that race car, we were showing that race car video about showing different points of view? I want to show you that again just so we can review it. And then you're going to tell me the different points of view and how you can tell which ones they are.
Hello again, race fans. I'm Seth Stevens, and in just a few moments, the Flex 400 gets underway here at Memorial Speedway. With me, as always, is former champ Emilio De Santis.
Hey,
Seth. Folks, Emilio and I are really excited to unveil a new innovation to our broadcast, the first-person camera.
That's right. We've outfitted several of today's drivers with helmet cameras and microphones, so at any point in the race, we can see what they see and hear what they're saying.
As you folks know, typically I call the play-by-play from up here in the booth. And that body on the
So can he do it?
Yes, it's.
Can he do it? They are coming around the turn.
Yeah.
So far, what keywords are we using? What point of view keywords are we using? Are we using first person? Are we using I, we, me, or ours, or us?
No.
No, so it wouldn't be first person. So can he do it? They're coming around the turn.
Yep.
What point of view would it be? So if our narrator or our sports guy is announcing what the race car drivers are doing,
Yeah.
who would the sportscaster be in this case?
Spoilers.
Yeah. The sportscaster is the guy who's telling the audience what the drivers are doing.
Yes.
So can he do it? They're coming around the turn.
Yes.
So if he's telling the story about what the race car drivers are doing, who would he be? Who would he be? If he's telling the story, but he's not part of the story. He's not driving on the racetrack. He's not part of the story. Who would he be?
The race car man.
Not exactly. He's not part of the story. So who would he be if he's just telling the story?
The narrator.
The narrator. So it would be in third person. You're right, because he's using keywords like can he do it?
Yep.
They're coming around the turn. So look, what's our keyword?
Mine.
My stomach doesn't feel so good. So right away, where are we? Where are we looking out of?
This.
Like out of the car. It looks like we're driving a car. Like we have a steering wheel. So we would be probably looking at one of the cars that the race car drivers are driving in. So if we were seeing our point of view out of the race car drivers, he's part of the story because he's the one that's going to be running the race. So my stomach doesn't feel so good. I'm so nervous. So I is another one of our keywords.
Yeah, I.
So what point of view are we using? Well, first of all, what is our story being told by?
Narrator.
Not really. So we're looking out of the window, out of one of the drivers. Looking at the point of view, like
The author.
I'm so nervous.
The guy talking.
The guy talk. So where is he? He's inside of the race car.
It's the
So would he be
hands.
one of the? What would he be if he was
Yeah.
inside of the? And he's about to race. Who would
Yeah.
he be?
The guy, the racer.
The racer. He'd be a racer. Can somebody help me?
Me, yes, me.
Yeah. So we're still looking at one of the
The
point of views.
racer was saying me.
Because he's nervous. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
We're looking at the point of view of how he's feeling throughout the story. All right. So now that we know our points of view, we're gonna use it to tell our story. So our story we're gonna be reading is "Somebody Loves You," Mr. Hatch. All right. So while we're reading, I want you to focus on what we've learned during our point of view, and I want you to follow these steps. We're gonna read the passage, cross out the dialogue, which is spoken words and inner thoughts, and we are going to focus on our pronouns. He would leave his brick house and walk 8 blocks to the shoelace factory where he worked. At lunchtime, he would sit alone in a corner, eat his cheese and mustard, and drink a cup of coffee. Sometimes he brought a prune for dessert. So right away, do you know what pronouns we're using? So Mr. Hatch.
Wait, I think I can see it.
You can see it?
He.
You want he? Do you remember what? Do you know what
Yes.
pronouns we're using? So
He,
if
she,
is
they.
he, she, they. So what point of view would that be in? So right away, what's our point of view? Who's telling the third? So who's telling the story?
The
So who's is
the narrator.
the narrator? The narrator is telling Mr. Hatch's story. Mr. Hatch was tall and thin, and he did not smile. So we're seeing Mr. Hatch's story from the narrator's point of view. You're right. How would you describe Mr. Hatch's life? He does the same thing every day. He wakes up every day at 6:30 in the morning. He would go to work. He would have the same thing for lunch, having a cheese and mustard sandwich. He'd go to the same 2 stops to the newsstand and over to the grocery store, and then he'd just go to bed. How would you think that life would be? Just doing the same thing over and over again. It'd be terrible. Nothing exciting would happen. It would be boring, right? Somebody loves you. Only then did he remember it was Valentine's Day. So what would you think if you randomly got a heart-shaped box full of candy that said, somebody loves you?
I would just probably feel, so happy with happy
You
tears.
feel so happy. So how do you think Mr.
Yes.
Hatch would feel?
Yes, with happy tears.
He'd have happy tears. He'd feel so happy, right?
Yeah.
So Mr. Hatch had never laughed. Can you imagine never laughing in your life? How would you feel if you never laughed in your life?
I would just probably feel my best.
Yeah, you wouldn't feel your best. So why do you think laughing would be a good thing?
Because
Why is it a good thing to laugh every day?
it keeps you happy.
It keeps you happy. So if he never laughed, that means that he's happy. So we all have to laugh every once in a while because it keeps us happy. What was one thing that changed about Mr. Hatch? What did he do at the newsstand?
He got a piece of paper and he felt happy.
What did he ask for?
To have a job at the paper stand.
Yeah, and what else did he do? Because Mr. Smith wasn't feeling very good, so what did he offer to do?
He asked him on the stand about him.
Yeah, did he do that before?
Yeah.
I don't think he did. He just got the newspaper and left. He did that every day.
Yeah.
So was that different?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it wasn't like Mr. Hatch to do something so nice for him, right? Why do you think Mr. Hatch was sad?
Because that heart-shaped box was for somebody else.
It was for somebody else, so it got delivered to the wrong address. Everybody loves Mr. Hatch. So why do you think they did this for him?
To make Mr. Hatch feel happy.
Yeah, because he made them feel happy. How did he make them feel happy? Do you remember what he did with them?
Yes, I do.
He helped them, right? How did he help them?
They're making brownies and throwing picnics up.
Yeah. And how do you think they felt when Mr. Hatch kept on helping them?
They do a surprise for them.
Yeah. So when he helped them, how'd they feel? They felt happy, right?
Yeah.
And when Mr. Hatch was sad, they wanted to help him. They want him to feel happy too. On a little comprehension check. So I want you to fill in the blanks. So I use a sentence frame for you. So all you have to do is fill in the blanks from what we have learned today. Remember we were talking about point of view and what this book was? So I want you to remember what point of view this book was, because that's what we were talking about, right? And I'm going to use this frame. This book uses blank point of view because blank is telling the story. What's our first word?
Mend.
Mend. Mend is to repair.
Mend
So
is to
you need-
repair?
So if you needed to mend a button that came loose from your sweater, what would you do?
You fix it.
You fix. How would you fix it?
By tying it.
Tying it, like, if your mom was able to, like, find a button on your sweater, what would she do?
So you fix it.
She would fix it. Yeah, she would put it back by sewing it on. Set it up.
Realize.
Recall.
To remember.
To remember. I want you to recall your favorite memory and tell me about it.
My favorite memory is growing up places with my dad.
Oh, that's a really fun memory. You love
Yes.
going to places with your dad, don't you?
Because it keeps me happy forever.
Do you remember what point of view our story is in? So look at our point of view. Right from the first sentence, we remember that we saw, when we pay attention to point of view, we read and we don't focus on the dialogue, which is our spoken words and inner thoughts, even though our characters are speaking, and we focus on the pronouns. So, let's read. Mr. Hatch was tall and thin, and he did not smile. So,
Nice legs to
Mr.
smile.
Hatch, do you know what pronouns we're using so far? Remember the keywords that we had? So what pronouns do we have? So first of all, who's this book about?
Mr. Hatch.
Yeah, Mr. Hatch. Is Mr. Hatch telling the story?
The narrator is.
Yeah, the narrator is telling her story, because if Mr. Hatch was telling the story, it'd say, I am tall and thin and I did not smile. If Mr. Hatch was telling the story, it'd be in first person.
Yeah.
But if the narrator was telling the person, it would be in
Third.
be in third person. Because look, Mr. Hatch. Someone is talking about Mr. Hatch. If Mr. Hatch is talking about himself, it wouldn't say Mr. Hatch. So we remember that our book is in third person. So we're going to be questioning a character's point of view. So we're going to be focusing on the character that this story is about, or what the narrator is telling us about, or telling the reader about. So in this case, who is our book about?
Mr. Hatch.
Mr. Hatch. So we're going to be focusing on Mr. Hatch, and we're going to be focusing on these questions. So how does the character feel, and then how do we know? And then what is their reaction to an event? How does the character feel after he received the Valentine's Day box? Or received the serious box that said, somebody loves you. But he didn't know who it's from.
Happy.
He feels happy. So if someone sent you a Valentine like that,
Yes.
do you feel really happy, just like how Mr. Hatch is feeling?
Yeah.
Ooh, that brings me to our next question.
Yeah.
So we know that Mr. Hatch feels happy, and we know it's because he received our Valentine, and that he laughed, and he danced, and he smiled, and he did something. Those are things that he's never done before. What changes in their actions after he's received the Valentine? What did he do that shocked everyone? He did the same thing. He went to work, but what did he do at work? What did he do with the chocolates at work?
He shared it with the other people.
Yeah. And when he went to the newsstand, how did he help Mr. Smith?
By watching his newspaper stand when he went to the doctor.
Yes, exactly. And then he helped in making brownies and lemonade for all the people in the shoelace factory. And he held a party. So how did you think it made people feel?
He made them happy.
He made them happy. Why did you think he wanted to make them happy?
Because someone sent him a Valentine.
So someone sent him a Valentine? So remember when you told me a couple minutes ago that when someone sent you a Valentine, how do you feel?
I just get happy,
You
dears.
get happy. Because everything changed once he learned how to smile and laugh. Because he knows that somebody loves him after giving him a Valentine. What did he want to do to everyone else in return? He helped them, kind of like how you do every morning when you give out the PBIS tickets. And then he wanted to make them feel the same way he did when someone did something nice for them. And how does that make them feel?
He made everyone happy.
He made everyone happy. Probably thought he would find this Valentine, and he wanted to do something nice to whoever it might be. So what did he do? He offered to
Have a party in his backyard.
have a party in his backyard and be nice to everyone and make everyone happy. That's really good. So what did the townspeople feel once they realized that Mr. Hatch is sad?
They felt happy. They felt that they wanted to help him make him feel better.
They wanted to help them make him feel better.
Hatch.
Ooh, this is an important part. Everybody loves Mr. Hatch. So, after receiving the Valentine, Mr. Hatch believed that somebody, he didn't know who, loved him.
Yeah.
So he did all these nice things for everyone,
Yeah.
in case it could be that mysterious person who gave him that Valentine.
Yeah.
But once he realized it was to the wrong address, he believed nobody loved him. But what happened after doing all of these acts?
Everyone thought it was a surprise party.
By throwing a surprise party, what did that prove?
Happy again.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that somebody in particular loves him. It means that that everyone wanted to show that everyone loved him.
Yeah.
Everyone loved him in that time because of everything that he did to show that he loved them.
Oh, yeah.
And they wanted to do the same thing. So when you give love, so what happens when you give love? Like if you do something nice for your mom or your dad or one of your friends.
I would maybe make that happy as well.
Yeah. So if you were going to do something really nice for me or Miss Weitzel, if you did something nice, like you would give me love, I would give you love in return. And that's exactly what they did, right? He showed that he loved them, and what did they do? After he felt like
showed
nobody
that
loved
they
him.
love Mr. Hatch.
Yes, exactly. It's about 3:24. We got about 5 more minutes till carpool. And in those 5 minutes, I want you to answer one more question. So I want you to fill in these blanks. So the question is, what lesson did you learn from Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch? And then how can you apply this lesson in your own life? So I set you up a sentence and I want you to fill in these dotted line blanks. So after reading, I have learned that blank, and I will blank in my life. Let's go over vocabulary. So what is our first word? Do you remember our first word?
Repair. Can I repair your pants?
Repair. So what's our word?
Mend.
Mend. Mend is to repair. Yes.
Mend to repair.
All right, what's our next word?
Supervisor.
Supervisor! Oh my goodness! A supervisor is a person who looks after something or someone. So Mr. Kerrigan looks over all the teachers. He's the teacher's boss.
Mr. Hat.
So what did we describe the mood or the feeling in the beginning?
He was told that he did not smile.
He did not
Earlier in
smile.
the day, he soloed his cheese and Mr. Sewage and drank a cup of coffee.
Right.
Sometimes he borrowed food for dessert, and he read the newspaper, took a shower, and went to bed.
So he did the same thing every day. How do you think he felt about that?
Sad.
He felt sad. So why was Mr. Hatch sad when he realized the Valentine wasn't for him?
Because it was at the wrong address and he didn't look at the address. It was
Oh.
his address was 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, his cheese and Mr.
So if it was
Sandwich. He read the newspaper, took a shower, went to bed early, and then he sat on the corner. He was a cheese and Mr. Sandwich and drank a cup of coffee.
Yeah, so he went back to doing the same thing. So remember how he was feeling in the beginning when he did those things? So how do you think he feels now?
So sad.
Yeah. All right. There are 2 more things we have to do, and then that'll be it. So this is where you're gonna need your pencil.
Hey, worms.
So first thing, we have 2 worksheets we're gonna do. So you can complete these in any order. For this one, you are gonna circle the answer that works real best with this question. I can help read the questions if you want. And then for this one, you're gonna choose one of these words for each sentence, and you're only gonna use the word once. And once you're done using that word, you're gonna cross it off. That way you don't have to use it. So look, do any of these have to be completed in any order? No, you can do it however you want. And whatever you don't complete by today, you can make it up tomorrow. We have an extra day. All right, number 3. In the beginning of the book, Mr. Hatch loved having tons of variety in his meals, which means that he wanted to have different things for every meal every day. Is that A, true, or B, false?